then we'll do the intro. Good to go.
All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining Tech Academy's Tech Talk. Today we have Rhone here with us to talk about game development, specifically talking about the life cycle of a video game. So thank you for being here and take it away.
Hey everyone. So today I'm just going to kind of be talking about the entire process of a video game from kind of start to finish, or at least as much as we can cover in an hour. And just so that you kind of get like a big picture of like what's involved and all the little bits that are there, so you could kind of have a big, high level view of the entire thing. And then from there, you guys are free to go ahead and pursue any of the things we talk about more in depth, right? And that's really what I just kind of want to give you is a little bit of a tour. My name is Rhone. If you want to e-stock me, let's see. Usually do this. Let's see, open all. And open all bookmarks. All right, let's get some. Do a few different things here. Oh, crud. You don't have to log into LinkedIn. Rhone. I think it's just LinkedIn. Anyway, you can probably find LinkedIn. And here we go. There's the outside one with it, but you don't have to look at. But I am currently, I've been the founder of my own video game company. If you want to see everything I've done, it's here. Some of these things are released, some are unreleased. That's kind of the nature of video games, is about a 50% hit rate on actually releasing video games that I'm in. Now, it doesn't really matter whether or not they're released or not, because you're always building a portfolio with the work that you do. Been an instructor at PCC for the last 3 years. Otherwise, kicked around Portland as a developer at several different places here that you should check out. Anyone interested in VR, these are places that kind of, this is AR. I don't know, anyway. I got fired from ITT, so that's on my list of successes. I no longer exist, obviously, and anyone who went here should get their money back. Not because I didn't instruct well, it's just because of the nature of that system. So here we are. And I just kind of kicked around. So I started my life as a 2D animator. Actually, I just found it. My very first video game that I ever worked on was this Geometry Blaster from the Math Blaster series. I don't know if anyone's old enough at all to remember this stuff, but it was CD-ROM based, 95, and that was when I was in school in Boston. I'm just finally getting to the corners of the house that I grew up in, and some of this stuff is still around. So we got a little history. Also went to Iceland. It's an awesome place. We'll talk about that in a little bit. My main claim to fame is Tinderbox Entertainment around here in Portland. You can see from our website, we're currently doing revisions. But if you want to check out any of our YouTube channel bits, what we're mostly known for is the studio who is going to make Munchkin for the Xbox 360. There's a few videos here you guys can check out if you want. That was kind of our biggest claim to fame until the project was axed and we just never got to finish it. But we've had several successful Kickstarters though on our own, just in the board game realm. So I'm going to talk about video games today for you guys. But if you ever have a question or anything, just shoot me an email about board games as well, because they're a pretty integral part to the video game process in different ways. Let's see. I'll maybe cover this a little bit later. I usually do. This is the entire world of video game development and publishing on one map. And it's not everything, right? It is, but it is your first stop. Please stop here first. Please renew your passports. There is an entire world out there, and you guys should get out and explore it. Especially from like just video game things. So I trekked over to Iceland, found some pretty heavy hitters over here that I didn't realize. CCP Reykjavik, which creates EVE Online and the various EVE franchises, so on and so forth. They have festivals. There's like Motion Cap Festival or something. Anyway, these guys are super fun. Anyway, I hooked up with some people there and, just talked about life and Europe and video games and such. But really, there's quite a few places. I tend to search for these remote things and see what's there. But, I have no idea what this is. Online, mobile developer. Sure, we'll just click a random one. Go ahead and check it out, right? This is the world. Geography in the world is less of a consequence than it used to be. All right, as long as you have a stable-ish internet connection, you should be good to go. Let's see. This was a report. Why do I have this? Sorry about this. There's going to blind you for a sec.
Kyle, one thing, we're only seeing your Blender with the presentation.
Oh, shoot. Darn it. Right, because we didn't ever do that screen. Darn it.
Yeah, just so you know.
Thank you. You should have stopped me a long time ago. That's okay. That's fine. Let's hit all that again at the end. I'm sorry. Yes. Great. There. Starting over. We got this. Let's get a chalkboard going though. All right. Okay. So
before we start, is there a way to maybe make it bigger? Sherry was asking if you can
make the. Yeah, it can be bigger.
Perfect. Thank you.
I can make it bigger. Well, in fact, I'm going to probably draw a little small here. Let's see in the corner. All right. So let's talk about a video game. All right. So what does it take to make a video game? It takes anywhere from like 1 person to 12 to 50 to 500. It really depends on the game that you're talking about and how many features, how much maintenance it requires. Do you need moderators? Are you online? So really there's no answer to like how many people there need to be to make a game. Stardew Valley, all made by 1 person. So if you haven't played Stardew, I highly recommend it. It's one of the better like indie games that we can kind of point to and say, hey, it is possible to make a game by yourself, make millions of dollars and whatnot. Now, my own experience, I've always made money. Usually I've made my money back, not necessarily, enough to live, but I've not made millions of dollars, let's say. But you don't need to necessarily in order to like be in an industry that's fun and engaging, which is worth a lot, you might say. So, video games. Feel free to interrupt me if there's like a technical issue at all. So here's the video game life cycle. And life cycle isn't exactly right anymore. CYCLE. I'll put like a line through that. So it's not really a cycle. It used to have cycles. Anymore, we pretty much just do one video game and support it for life. You don't have to do that, but it's kind of how things are these days. In which case the cycle becomes like player engagement. Like, uh-oh. And here's where I have to admit I do not know how to spell. And it's actually not super required for code. Please spell as best you can. But anyway, how much player engagement do you want to have? Because it's totally fine to just create a game that's a start to finish, and then you create a sequel, or you create a totally new game, but from a different studio. There are various reasons for doing both of those. So the first thing you need is you need an idea. These are going to seem like really simple in the beginning, like why am I even writing them down? But they are worth writing down. You have an idea, and then you have to percolate. You have to think about it for a little bit. Maybe you're playing a game and some feature of it sucks, and you're like, I could do better than that. Well, that's what the power that this industry gives you, is like you have the power to do that. Absolutely. So first you have to have an idea. Is your idea any good? Probably not. But that's okay. Your idea needs to be iterated, and that's how you get out of having a bad idea. All right, so I'm going to talk about, well, actually, I don't have much time with you guys right now, but if you're in like one of my classes, I talk about iteration a lot. Iteration and systems all the time. That's all we do. Is we build, game designers are basically systems designers, but you're designing systems for fun, in which case it is maybe a little less technical than like a systems designer, but they're both exactly the same thing. So you have a bad idea. Well, the first thing you need to do is kind of share it with people. But before, I'm going to put sharing down here. And in the middle, I'm going to have something. Anybody got any idea about like what should really go here once you have the idea? I don't know. Let's see. That's cool. All right, go for it. Like, just shout it out, maybe. Or maybe that's not possible. I don't know.
Storyboarding? Already kind of like planning or puzzling, or like figuring out what you're going to do?
Yes. Absolutely. Okay. So you write it down in some fashion. That could be a storyboard, which animators like me do this. That's SB. Storyboards. A script. A screenplay. Script. That's not right. A script, a napkin. All right, whatever it is, you write it down. If you can't get this far, you're not going to go anywhere else. Like a lot of people skip this step and wonder why they failed. This is why they failed. They didn't write it down because they didn't think they need to. They thought they already had the best idea. So once you write it down, then you can share it because you have taken the time. This is a game design document at this point. Even if you write it on a napkin, you have documented your game design. All right. Therefore, it is a game design document. Game design doc. A lot of three-letter acronyms in our field too, just like every field probably. So once you have a game design document, you have at least taken the chance to write your idea down for yourself and tell yourself what the idea is. And while you were doing that, you're probably getting really frustrated because our words weren't coming to you. You had to get out the thesaurus, and it took a really long time. That's why you got to write it down. This is really for you. For you. And this is a living document, all right? Which means that it can be changed at a moment's notice. So Do you have to reread it every time it's changed? No. But when you have a new idea or a new feature, add it to the document. That way you have it logged. Your brain gets the refresh as well. So you share it. Who do you share it with? Your mom. Share it with your mom. Share it with the fam. They're going to love it because they love you. So after a little bit, maybe you can ask them if there's anything that they would change. This is all very hard for family members to do. So you can't stay in this realm very long. But if you get kind of, a more or less thumbs up, right, from the fam and your close friends, then you can start showing it to colleagues, right? So in this, you just kind of like go out of your circle of friends as you kind of, spiral outwards towards the internet. All right. So colleagues and, eventually internet. I mean, in reality, you're probably looking at publishers. Oops, publishers, hub. And other dev studios, or if you're not the dev, then you're looking for a dev to complete your game, right? And we'll talk about how to find these people at the end of class when I rebroadcast from that my Firefox window instead of Blender window. Internet. Well, anyway, you get the idea. All right, so this is all what we call design. All right, so this is kind of the design area. All right. Next. Hang on a sec. Let's get some frames. All right. Next would be the, I guess this is an okay place to put it. Okay. So first we have design, then we have development, and these do overlap. In fact, a lot of these overlap. There's not a strict go down the line, order to this. You can start kind of from anywhere. You could even start from like the publishing area and find a developer. So there's not any rhyme or reason. Just the idea has to kind of be in form before you can go on beyond design. So development, really, I break development, which is what I do for a living. It's basically the content creation part of it. It's maybe new ideas, it's maybe new art, it's new music, it's new code. Let's talk about development for a bit. I kind of arrange development for video games into like 4 categories, maybe a few more. But art, and this would be visual arts, of which there are like a 2D and 3D, I'm sure you've seen. And then we'll do audio, which is all of your sonic art stuff, which kind of fall into 3 categories. I've got music. Music. And dialogue. And sound effect.
Interface.
Oh yeah. Well, that'd be over here. Yeah. So UI, when you're designing the UI, well, it depends really. Yes, you can have sound effects for the user interface. Actually, all of these things come together for every part of your game. If you can and you have the time, you should animate everything. You should give sounds to everything. You should, but you never have the time to do any of that stuff. So you have to make choices. And then the choices you make, make the game. But yeah, so I tend to think the user interface is more about how the user interacts with the game. And I would typically put that in 2D. In game engines, those are in like the 2D area. So you have kind of sprites, and you have UI. And depending on the game engine, it's sometimes called controls and Godot. I think it might just be called UI at this point, or in Unity. But they have like two different systems. But UI typically is on the screen. You can project it into 3D or map it onto 3D shapes if you want to, but typically UI is in 2D land. And the difference between sprites, where you could have like a pivot point in the middle, and then like your sprite is this texture. That's a texture, image, are all synonyms. So your little picture of a smiley face, an emoji there on the sprite. But if you have it in UI coordinates, then, sorry, backing up here. Sprites exist in 2 dimensions. You have the X and you have the Y, right? Well, that is also true for UI, but it exists based on the relative location to the viewport, the window that people are viewing in. So if you have your game all in here, and you have this little element, and it's always locked to the upper right-hand corner of the screen, that's what I'm talking about with UI elements, right? Okay. Typical applications you'll have. So 3D, I kind of drew into the 3D area. Let's take care of that. You can grab, I knew I would. So in 3D land, you, of course, just have this extra dimension that goes kind of parallel to or perpendicular to your screen, which is the Z. And depending on if you're in a right-handed or left-handed coordinate system, it's either going into your screen or coming out of your screen. Those are all things for later. In 3D land, instead of sprites, you have models or meshes. Let's say mesh. Model kind of encompasses the entire thing. It encompasses the mesh, the textures, the skeleton, the animations, if there is anything in there. That's the entire model. All those things are kind of baked into a model. The 3D part is the mesh. The part that you see is the mesh, and on top of the and that's usually a polygon of some sort, right? Boxes are there. And then what you can do is you can take essentially these sprites and map them onto the faces of your mesh, and that's how you get color onto these things, just in general. Okay, so in 2D, you might have been familiar with things like Photoshop. Always popular. I use Krita. I have just switched over to Linux this term. So I've been on it for like a month or two. And so far, it's pretty production ready. This is Pop OS for anyone who cares. But I've been able to like find decent substitutes. Blender has always been good. But Godot, these are all cross-platform at this point. So Mac, Linux, what's the other one? Just kidding. 11, right? Okay. So pick your poison. These tools all work on all platforms. I've tested it. So Photoshop, Krita, GIMP is one. I don't say Corel, Painter. I don't think these are industry standard too much anymore. I mean, Adobe stuff is. All right. Anyway, these are pixel pushers. You push pixels with them. All right. Some of them have vector capabilities, but let's list those two. So these are pixel-based, and then vector-based. Those are the two kinds of 2D applications that you can use to create 2D art, really. So Vector is Illustrator. And we don't really use Vector too often in video games. Sometimes. Like Inky and the Paint Machine, I'm sure. Or no, wait, that's Inky, not the other one. The Cuphead. Cuphead is what I was thinking of. Illustrator, Inkscape. It's a K. SCAPE. Yeah, okay, there we go. And that's what I use Inkscape. It's free and open source. Video editor of choice at this point is DaVinci Resolve. It's not open source, but it is free, and some major players are using it in Hollywood. I just edit like YouTube stuff with it, so it's not really. All right, music. Music, obviously, if you know anything, if you play a musical instrument, if you know musical theory, any of these things help you out. Dialogue, also called voiceover, and this is sometimes shortened to background music, BGM, voiceover. Sound effects is always just SFX. So music, you're probably going to look for a DAW, a digital audio workstation, and these are like FL Studio, Studio, Logic Pro on a Mac, or I don't know if it's really Pro or whatever it is, Logic, Ableton, and what these applications create are MIDI formats for the most part. All right. Now, MIDI is kind of the equivalent of vector. I didn't really explain vectors. All right, so I don't know if I need to, but pixels look like this, and you fill in the right ones, and it creates an image, right? I created a little T. A vector is actually math that then has like handles that is rendered in more or less real time, and you can get like curved shapes out of it essentially. All right, and this is a little harder to edit, whereas this is super easy to edit. Okay. Same here with MIDI. Once you have your music, these are just kind of musical notes, and you can replace the instruments at will. And that's the power of MIDI. So if you get, you can do really crappy samples just to get the tone right, and then you can send it off to somebody who can like remix it with the right audio and the levels and stuff like that. So anybody into music, this is a totally valid field. Anyone looking into getting into voice acting, very valid field. I had the actress who played the voice of Siri on the phone contact me asking for, if I had any work for her voice actor. She's pretty nice. Which of course I didn't. I'm like, but that's kind of the hustle, right? You have to go and like make the connections, and you see who, so if anybody wants to talk to the lady, I knew her on Twitter. It's basically small, but the voiceovers, I don't really, so these are WAV files, and WAV file is just you'll see they look like this, like waveform whatevers, and MIDI will be like short bars and then like long, whatever the notes are. Sustain this note for how long, and this is like on a timeline. Well, this is on a timeline too, but actually that was confusing. I'll get rid of it. But this is very hard to edit. Like you can go in here and draw these wave signs in some of these programs, and you get weird results. But when you're recording a voice, it's going to be through a microphone, which the vibrations and such, the air compression. This is my least knowledgeable area, by the way. But I think it's AIFF or file format, the WAV file format, which is always big. MP3, people know about this. MPEG-4, whatever. There's all sorts of codecs and audio sampling things in that. Sound effects. Sound effects are usually wave files as well, but they're everything that like a babbling brook, a rock hitting another rock, footsteps, these kind of things. And typically these are just kind of available as part of like soundtrack files at this point. But if you really are into it, Foley artists are the people who make the noises in front of the microphone to get the sounds that you need. All of this is kind of under audio engineer. I think. Category. All right. So you could be a musician underneath this, but you're always going to be designing sound. All right. Whew. Any questions so far? Let's.
Kyle, looks like Sherry had a couple questions. She wanted to know what video file you recommend, or sorry, audio file for sound.
Yeah, I mean, whatever uncompressed, do it uncompressed when you're recording it. So you have master files that you record, or like raw files, like raw footage, raw audio sound. It's just you in the studio. That you want uncompressed and just as large as possible, so you're getting all of the information. Because as it's hard to add information. It's easy to take it away. So you want to take all the information that you can. And this is the same for if you're doing a photo shoot or if you're doing whatever, video editing, any time you are doing a performance of something, you'll want it in as high detail as you can. And those are usually the WAV files. I believe AIF is the Mac equivalent. But it'll tell you. MP3s are definitely compressed. Don't use those. That's an end format. That's the format at the end. you want raw footage to be as highly detailed as possible. Then you edit it in and you do sound effects or color corrections. It depends on what you're talking about. But yes, I would say WAV. I can definitely use it.
Do you have a microphone you recommend for sound effects?
Oh, no, I don't. But that would be a question to post in Pig Squad, which is a thing I'm going to recommend you guys all go to and hook up with. They have a Discord server for the Portland Indie Game Squad, or Pig Squad for short, is a wonderful, network of other video game enthusiasts. And they have a Discord. I can probably find it for you guys. It's probably not hard to find if you just type in Pig Squad. But yes, they have. Those are the people. If you're looking for an artist, if you're looking for a developer, if you're looking for a job, even they're a pretty great resource. They'll have art and code nights, and you just kind of have to go out, get yourself out there, get a little bit of work under your belt, something to show off, and then show it off. And you don't have to be, almost all of us are introverts, so you don't have to be super outgoing networking person. In fact, we can tell usually when those people are just schmoozers and they want to be there for schmoozing. Anyway, I have, I'll switch over my windows to in just, I guess, 10 minutes or so. Okay. And
Sounds good.
And we'll figure out where your next steps are. So publisher wise, let's actually, okay. So there's just a couple more bits here. But the meat of, here, sorry. I can't do publisher yet. I'm still on development. All right. We have the code area. Whoops, code. So basically the difference between like making a movie and making a video game is code. That's basically it. You can interact with a video game, which you cannot with a TV show or a movie, right? It is just static, doesn't change. It definitely doesn't change based on what you do. So that makes code pretty freaking important. And people always ask what language. Doesn't matter what language. People always ask where to get started. I would say get started in games because it's fun. Otherwise, you might just get bored making a database or something like that, which comes later once you're making games. So this is why, essentially the colleges have hired people like me to kind of get people started in coding, and then they can take them to the next level of in depth once they are kind of interested in and have a direction about where they want to take their software development skills. So code. If you really want a recommendation, I think that C# is a pretty stable one to go with. A lot of people kind of need this, but like I say, Python is also in pretty high demand, but it does not matter what language it is, okay? What matters is the logic, all right? Every single programming language will have conditions, T-I-T-I-O-N-S, and loops. And not to give away too many trade secrets here, but this is like 70% of programming, all right? So the other 30% you can kind of learn on the side as you get longer and go along. There's maybe other more efficient ways of doing things, but if you can wrap your head around conditions and loops, that's you're set. So what are conditions? Conditions are really if statements. All right. So every programming language will have this. So if something, and it doesn't matter what this is, like if something is true, then do the stuff right beneath it. Do this. All right. If anything else is happening, then do this part instead. All right. All right. So I'm going to clean that up instead. And that's what a condition is. They can be more complex than that, but that's all it is. All right. So there's nothing to be really afraid of. You just use this again and again and again and again, which is where loops come in. So computers do one thing really well. It's mindless repetitive tasks, and loops are where it's at. So if you have this condition being checked, you can check it for every frame with a loop, and that's all there is to games. So I'm just going to put it down there. Actually, I'm going to delete that. So let's talk about loops just real quick. Very common ones are the for loop, right? And it's just going to say for loops. And those are harder to explain, so I'm not going to. But because sometimes they take the form of for loops or for each loops. All right. They basically, you can stuff this whole thing into here, and it'll loop constantly checking for your criteria. And you can nest these things, and you can make them as complicated as you want. There are other ways of checking for conditions, but if you know if, else, these two things, and then one of these loops, then that is, around 70%. I'm not joking. The rest of it is like designing and how to design efficiently. And what words should you use? Should you use a lot of commenting? Should you use no commenting? Should you, and these are all questions that your team and you have to have conversations about, so that you can have a common language that you will understand 3 years from now when you have to see this code again when new hardware comes out and you have to update it or whatever, all sorts of reasons. In terms of code, anything else I want to say about code? Don't forget that there are keywords. Keywords to every language, all right? And you'll learn those as you go, but I would say you got to learn maybe 15 words to be an intermediate programmer. But if you can learn all, 50 or whatever, and what they mean and do, then you're good to go. Every other word you make up. You create them as variables. So you can say, give me an integer, and which is a whole number, and call it my age. All right. And then I will assign it 40 something. I guess I'm 47, something like this. So my age is now equal to 47. And that's it. You're saying, hey, computer, give me some memory. I'm going to do something with a number. Give me this number. I'm going to do some addition. And then it works just like a calculator. All right. But you notice I made this up. There's nothing in the programming world that says I have to say my age. I could say Kyle's age. I could say when I get old, and then I set an age, whatever. Whatever you're trying to accomplish back in your idea. All right. So since you're kind of managing some code and you're also like designing things, it's handy to have the game design document at the ready, so you can just refer back to it when you get a brain fart. So these are kind of like I guess there's 4 main areas. Design is here, but really does overlap into, you kind of have to go back to design often. All right. You'll start and stop and go back. All right. Moving on. Publisher and distribution. Distributor. All right. We don't have a whole lot of time here, so bang these out. The dev area is the meat of how to make a game. This is like how to fund a game. Publishers give you money. They also give you like some branding advice. They also provide you with like advertisement space and so on and so forth. If you approach them with a game design document, this is how it used to work. You'd approach them with a game design document, and a small team would pitch an idea to a publisher executives or something. And then the publisher would give you some money and you would build it, and you'd pay the publisher back with the funds from that money, and then you would get some as well. That's typically how it works. All sorts of contracts, business contracts, right? But these days, typically, this is no longer enough. What you'll need is like a playable prototype. All right. And then you can kind of get in the door a little bit further. Publishers they just want to make money. So is your idea right for the market? Yada, yada, yada. There's all sorts of strings attached. So your playable prototype, you probably don't have enough money to like make that as well. So you have to start looking at things like Kickstarter, crowdfunding sources, and it's really not too hard to get your ideas at least out there. You might not make a ton of money on Kickstarter, but you probably make enough to kind of finish your idea. So I kind of say at this point, some sort of Kickstarter or equivalent to kind of really seal the deal, because then you can say, hey, we have these fans. And in fact, Kickstarter is both money and market research. All right. So, and that's how I think of it. I think of it as market research first. Like, do I have a good idea? Enough for people to drop money on without even having it built. That's key. And that might be the internet that I'm talking about back here when you've written your idea down. Oops. When you've written your idea down and you've gotten it to the internet, Kickstarter would maybe be my first stop, just to see, because you'll get bashed there, and people will be more or less kind, and they'll be at least be interested in your idea. If they care enough to leave a bad review or something, that means they cared enough to leave a bad review. So that's not nothing. It's still something. Distribution. These days, we've kind of gotten away from brick and mortars like Best Buy. Whatever, GameStop, and gone to pretty much full-blown Steam, Epic, your various other stores. Is Origin still around? I don't know. I'm not sure. Probably. People keep getting bought. Here's Blizzard. And whatever. So these are distributors, although, yeah, right. I guess not Blizzard, but most of them anyway. You'll be able to sell your game through these stores. I actually found one of mine this was the more embarrassing one that I have. This game that I made, Big Time Rush Dance Party. If you're not familiar with Big Time Rush, they're just a manufactured boy band from Nickelodeon from the early 2000s. And I found one of those in the bargain bin at Best Buy like 3 or 4 years ago. So there are still some games at stores, but we are mostly moving online. And then one last thing. Usually at the end, this would be the end, even just 10 years ago, this would be the end for a lot of video games. It was distributed and played. You might have some bugs and bugs reporting. So, but now this area has exploded. Maintenance, I think I spelled that right. So maintenance, so bug reports. Yes, you should probably fix as many bugs as you can. You can't do it forever, of course, because you're not making more money with this, except games kind of expect it to have the longevity of Minecraft. And I kind of blame Minecraft for this, only tongue-in-cheek, though. It's really the one that popularized the idea that there was no end, like no end, and that people would keep paying for like no end and things like this. So maintenance is no longer just a couple bugs. It's almost a roadmap. You almost need another roadmap after you launch. So roadmap for maintenance or repair, or usually you would get bugs, but then any new features would be pushed off to the new sequel, but that's just not the case anymore. You can auto update features, yeah, I guess. And things like Terraria, which have been around for forever, are like just now sunsetting and starting to work on new things. But it depends on what you're making. If you're making Braid or like an Xbox Live Arcade game, which has like a definite end and You might be working with a publisher that doesn't want to do a bunch of updates, to everybody's console. There could be other criteria in this, but how far do you want to go? How far do you want to maintain this? That is completely unknown at this point. I don't have Minecraft still seems going strong. I'm sure it'll just be updated forever, and some other things like that, World of Warcraft and whatnot, EVE Online, all the MMOs. Anyway, I'm going to quit there. That was mostly it. So hit me with questions. I'm not really going anywhere, so I can stick around if I know we're running over. So.
Thank you so much, Kyle. There were a few questions in the chat, so there has been a lot of talk in there. So let me know if you did put your question in there. I definitely do want to make sure we get to it. But it looks like Sherry's asking a question. Speaking of maintenance, do you use any Agile frameworks in your work?
Yes, we do. In fact, that's the whole iteration part. Is all one of the big Agile. All right, so Agile is kind of this word that is all encompassing in terms of like doing things well while maintaining an amount of flexibility in your team, right? And it encompasses like a whole set of principles. There are books and books on this stuff. Scrum is a thing, and I'm really not that knowledgeable about it because I tend to work in like small teams. Like the biggest team that I've managed is like 12, I think, and yeah. So the one that we definitely do is iteration. So it looks like this. You'll see it online in 3 ways. You design, you build, you break. Just do this. All right. All right, and these are the words that I use, but because I'm trying to make it easy for my team. Design it, build it, break it. Redesign it, build it, break it. And this is Agile methodology kind of 101 for iterating your process, right? You take it, it's garbage. You built it anyway, it's still garbage. You broke it immediately because you knew it was garbage, and then but through that process you can now redesign it. So when you show a client a diagram like this, they get really worried because it obviously is going to go on forever and cost everything. So you really got to and if you look online, this is still what you see. I'm on a campaign to change it to this, where you have your goal at the center, and every time you pass by this, you're getting closer and closer, and this time you didn't break it and it did what you wanted. So you have your goal at the center, and whatever it is you're designing, a new feature, a new piece of pixel art, a new whatever, everything goes through this design process. So yeah. All right, hit me. What else we got? All
right. So a few other questions. Tony asks, will there be a Math Blaster reboot?
Oh, I'm not at liberty to talk about it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm at liberty to talk about anything. Yeah, this company doesn't exist anymore, Davidson. So no, it was back in the 90s in Boston. So it was not, it was while I was going to college. Doesn't exist anymore. It was a big one. Actually, I think it says Blizzard on here. I was reading through it the other day. Let's see. Davidson Associates. No. Meh. I don't know. Anyway. Yes, actually, you should reach out to me about the Math Blaster rebooting. I am doing something new in these kind of realms. But I don't know that it'll be Math Blaster necessarily. But I'm looking for new visualizations on like how to describe these kind of mathematical things instead of just me drawing them here on the board, which works pretty good. But especially when you get into 3D, it would be better to have different kinds of models. But if you're into math, go ahead and contact me. I'll talk to you a little bit.
All right, so Austin is asking, I don't tend to see a lot of junior developer positions in the game industry. I have seen keywords like associate. Is this like the industry standard for those type of positions?
Yeah, I mean, I would do further inquiry into, because I think things like associate can be it's like specialist, you know, they're kind of broad terms that you don't know what they mean until you ask that particular system. But in general, yeah, like it'll usually say like entry level, or and then if you look further at job descriptions, it'll say like 5 years experience or such and such. 2 years experience and whatever. You just have to kind of look. But oh yeah, here, hold on. Let me cancel this. I was going to do this. Here's where to go. Let's present a window. Let's try what I can't do Firefox. Bummer. All right, what if I do?
We can't add links in the chat if you want, Kyle.
That's okay. I mean, I just what I want to show you. Yeah, what I want to show you is this one map, and maybe I will just do all of the entire screen. I guess that's close. This will just have to work. All right. So, okay. So over here, this is what I was trying to show you before when it was all blank and you just could see Blender. GameDevMap.com. This is probably my favorite place to go and like lose myself in the fantasy of moving to wherever I just clicked. What is that? Lexington, Kentucky. And see, okay, here's a Frog Dice developer. Let's check that out. Looks like Frog Dice did this thing on Kickstarter, which was funded. And you know, who knows what they are up to. Oftentimes you'll either in the About Us, or there'll be a jobs thing up here. But when you find, you know, just hey, let's do a different one. Let's do Portland. So here is actually, so what you got to check out here is Portland, and then also Seattle. Portland has quite a few. And you can kind of go down here, Jump Drive. Here's the Portland Indie Game Squad, of which so they're an organization that supports game developers in Portland. So anything you want, events. Here's the calendar. Right now, the Global Game Jam is going on, so go check it out on their Discord. Let's see. Let's do Big Squad. Like nothing too saucy is going on in here. Basically, join this Discord server for okay. Just join this Discord server, poke around, find out who's who. The main ones are up here. Will and Dylan are great to talk to. Will's kind of the head of the organization, so he knows everything. Marlo's kind of the secretary, so she knows everything. Dylan knows about code, and Corey knows about kind of PR type things and event management. So seek them out. All these people down here are cool to probably talk to. Just poke your nose into one of these chats and say, hey, let's see, don't they have one for like art? I don't know. I thought they might have. I thought they had one for. Oh yeah, here we go. Looking for work, right? Did I just not see it? Well, anyway, just ask around in here to see what you guys need to do is bring something to the table. So what kind of portfolio do you have to show off? You can ask all the questions in the world; they'll totally be answered. But if you want to like take it to become a part of it, then you basically just join a game jam here. Like here's the global game jam. Some people are doing some board games, some art for it. And this is just all kind of for fun to hone our skills and get to know a team a little bit better. Maybe they're people we want to work with in the future. Maybe we found out they were assholes and we don't want to work with them anymore. But that's you kind of have to dip your toe in the water. I'm not sure what this is or even how long ago this is. It looks like they're doing stuff. Man, this is not now. Oh yeah, this is definitely not now. Okay, anyway, just from last time. Whatever. I don't think they're doing in-person stuff yet, really. And they may not. They think this Discord is going so well and the online presence is so good that they just gonna maybe do a few things a year in person. But check out the calendar. Looks like it's blank. Anyway, check out Game Dev Map. Seattle is just 2 to 3 hours away, depending on which part of Greater Seattle area you want to go. But this is where the big fish live, is in Bellevue. So check them out. This is where you've got ArenaNet, Valve, Bungie. In fact, they have 2 pages worth. Look at this. Jeez. All right. I'll let you guys go through this, but Bellevue would be, I mean, if you end up moving to Bellevue, let me know if there's like a seedy underbelly. I wasn't able to find it. So, all right. Any other questions? Probably too many.
Yes, we got not too many, but just a few. So Nathaniel asked, so is there a job for game devs that is environment building or level building where you don't have to make the assets, so be the artist in that case?
Right. If you're building a level, you are an artist. Like, okay, I don't think you have to go to art school. They have a whole website devoted to don't go to art school kind of thing. Go to these internet resources instead. But being an artist, geez, you know, today everybody's an artist. Like if you've played Minecraft in creative mode, that's art. Like I don't care what people say. Like you have created a world, you've built stuff, you've dug stuff. Yes, you are using the tools that were provided for you by the game, but that is no different at all than me launching, you know, one of these programs down here to draw in, because these are just squares. You're just digging out squares. So building a level requires some art, yes. But it is more like the creative spirit, okay? That's kind of, you know, but yeah, absolutely. There are level editors. In fact, there's something called, there's a couple things. Inktober happens in October. If you want to practice your inking skills, this is when everybody in the world gets out the piece of paper and draws something and posts it to Twitter or whatever. There's something also in October called Blocktober for those of us who are in the 3D arts, where you're only allowed to use like the primitives provided to you in the game engine to build an interesting level. No textures, no nothing, just gray box, October, Blocktober, yes. Like start participating in these things, and you will become known, or you will see people who's outstrip your talents, but you're going to see that, and you're going to want to try to emulate them. If you see somebody whose level you really, really liked, or somebody's art that you really, really liked, try to reproduce it. It's not, it is copying it, but you're not like selling it or nothing. Just you're practicing your technique, all right? And so that's the same for level editing or music or art or anything. Programming. People forget this about programming. Programming is a creative field. You are a creative problem solver as a program. In fact, like they all are. They're all that. Creative problem solver for art, music. Is it there yet? Iterate. Done and done.
All right. Well, Kyle, looks like the last question, and kind of the one I want to know as well.
Sure.
Do you game engine? Do you like Unity or Unreal?
I like Godot. I did. Yeah, I have switched, and let me get one up and running here real quick. I'll show you. Let's do one real quick. All right. View window. Game project. Okay, cool. Allow. So I've been migrating my stuff over to Godot from Unreal, which was priorly in Unity. So I've used them all. I did Unity for about 6 years. I did Unreal for 3, and this is my first year with Godot. But it's open source. It's free. All of them are free, by the way. To a point. They're free until you stop making money with them. Then I like the licensing for Unreal at the moment the best. I would probably do Unreal before Unity. I feel like Godot is going to replace Unity real quick here. It's very similar to Unity. And it's got all the same kind of, walk around, do things, and whatever. You can like move around in third person. It's got a whole like 2D segment, which neither of the other two do, or rather, Unity's 2D, unless it's changed, is just on top of the 3D. It's not like a separate area or a separate engine. This is a kind of two separate engines. The scripting is built in. There's no need for, it's just auto compiles all the time. So you can hit play anytime. There's so many nice features, and version 4 is just gone into alpha, so there'll be even better features and higher upgrades. So I would, check out Godot. It's the new up and comer. I did it because of the open source features, and I'm not afraid of working at kind of a lower level if need be. The scripting language here is called GD script. I won't go into a whole bunch of this, but and it's kind of like a Python language, but isn't. This is not using garbage collection, which both Unreal and Unity do. This, I don't know what it is, but it's something else. This is supposed to be more bare bones, and you can. I'm creating like multiplayer stuff in it. It's the first game engine where I really didn't trip over the multiplayer parts of it, and was able to actually make something multiplayer. So yeah, I my heart's behind it, this one. But after that, I'd probably say Unreal. It's just a beast. It's gigs and gigs, but man, it looks good right out of the box. And here's what it is. Unity and Godot are like pickup trucks, all right? And Unreal is like a Ferrari. So Unreal, it looks really nice right out of the box, man, if it doesn't do, if you got to modify it or you crash it and got to get it repaired, this is really expensive. if whereas a pickup truck, you probably could just hack it apart and figure out where to put the gas, right? And so sometimes you need a pickup truck, and sometimes you like a Ferrari. And I would decide on the project, but ultimately you probably won't decide. The studio will have already decided for you. So, but in indie wise, check out Godot. I'm liking it a lot.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Well, if you guys do have more questions, I can definitely put Kyle's LinkedIn here, and you can reach out to him.
Yeah, totally. I don't know what you got, but
Let
I'll get.
me see.
Email's not great. I really got to get a Discord for just general people who want to stay in touch with me. Be like Rolodex Discord or something. But anyway,
Here, I put that in the chat.
Yeah. Just hit me up on LinkedIn. I get around to it, every month or so. Don't expect a message back immediately, but yeah, I keep my ears open and try to reply to people if I can.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. Also, we are recording this session, so if you do want to go back and watch this on our YouTube channel, here is the link to our Tech Talk playlist. It also has all the previous Tech Talks on there. And then next week, we do have another Tech Talk coming up. We have Tyler Huff, who's a recruiter, and they are going to do a Q&A session on just job placement within the tech industry. So go ahead and join that if you want to learn more about that. And if you have any questions, make sure to bring them. But other than that, I'm glad everyone joined today's session. Hopefully you guys have an awesome Friday. Thank you so much, Kyle, and everyone. You guys have a good day.
Yep, you bet. Take it easy, guys. Good luck out there.
Thanks, Kyle. Really good presentation.
All right, see ya. Bye.
Bye.